Hi, welcome to Mega Manga Mondays. This is from the future. We decided to, we had so many thoughts on the anime Chainsaw Man finale and how it relates to what we think will happen in season two, that we're going to wait to do our manga discussion next week. When the new chapter comes out, we'll have a lot of manga stuff to talk about. But please enjoy our discussion on the anime. We had a lot of fun talking about it and what we think season two is going to be starting out with. But enjoy. Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we're talking about Chainsaw Man, the anime finale, which is beautiful. But if you're an anime only watcher and you're worried about manga spoilers, don't be. We're going to start the first part of it talking about just the anime without spoiling anything major about the manga. And then we'll eventually transition into full manga spoilers and all that stuff. But go ahead and check in the description if you're worried about that on what time you can enjoy it until then. But I, Jason Hahn, writer for Screen Rant, started the Mega Manga Mondays podcast. And today we're very excited to talk about Chainsaw Man. I got some buddies with me to talk about it. Steven, how you doing, man?
Good. Hey, my name's Steven, right for the comics, anime, manga section, as well as interviews whenever some cool ones come in. But yeah, we're here to talk about new Chainsaw Man, and the manga side will be a very interesting conversation for you people who are manga readers, because we all have very different opinions on it. Well, at least I do. I think both of you are on the same boat, so it'll be a good one.
Yeah. There has been some dissent in some comments, so I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on it and why you disliked it. But I'm also excited to hear about the thoughts from Ben. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm Ben. I'm also a writer at Screen Rant for the anime, manga, and comic sections, although I've been largely writing for the anime and manga sections lately, as it's the new part of our site, so very exciting. But yeah, I'm excited to discuss Chainsaw Man. I mean, the anime just wrapped up, and I think it's the best anime of the year. I'll go out on a limb and say that. So yeah, it was just great. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of welcome the new year by watching the finale finally, and I guess we'll jump right into it. Oh man, just so many things to talk about on it. I'm not really even sure where to start, but just simply titled Chainsaw versus Katana, and oh boy, we got the moments we wanted. The tease that I had been guessing consistently throughout this entire thing was just like, that'd be the perfect way to tease it. It wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to be, but to tease things to come, it was a great final shot.
I was so disappointed that actually happened. I wrote an article about how disappointed I was.
Well, I was very disappointed we didn't get the movie theater scene, because I thought that still would have been a great way to end it.
I'm still really happy about that. Like, I get the idea of wanting to include it just because there were we were on the anime side.
I was just like, oh, we're talking about things we wish would have been in it.
I think it would have been a great place to end the season narratively. Like, I thought that where the season ended narratively was not the best, actually. Like, it was very sort of anticlimactic, I felt like.
I think the reason it was because reading it in the manga, it's definitely a different experience. The anime seemed to really like drive home the Himeno thing.
Himeno, yeah.
Himeno.
Well, I bring up the anticlimax thing because I talked to some friends of mine who are anime only, and they thought the same thing, that it was like, it was good, but like, I mean,
what are we talking about?
Anticlimactic. What was the ending of the final episode?
Like the ending, or the like Marvel Universe?
No,
ending?
Not like the teases. Like the teases and stuff are their own thing. They're kind of like separate narratively, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like where the season actually ends, like the way everything wraps up is kind of like they defeat Katana Man, which is a great fight, of course, and they kick him a bunch of times, which is great. But like overall, kind of like you're left with the feeling of like, that's it. You know what? Is there anything more happening here? I mean, it's I don't know. And
no, keep going. Sorry.
Keep going. And I feel like that was sort of a letdown. But yeah, there wasn't really a good place to end it. I think the movie theater would have been a great place to end it, because I think you ended it on a more conclusive note that teases more for the future. Whereas if you ended on the Katana Man fight, it's sort of like, well, that happened. I guess there'll be more fights later on, probably. But, you know, it is what it is.
Spoilers, there will be more fights in Chainsaw Man. But yeah, I kind of agree. But I started to kind of get into enjoying it. I ended up being pretty happy with it, just because I thought the anime did such a good job of building up Himono's character so much. Himino, sorry. I'm really bad with names, as I've established in previous podcasts.
Just call her Patch, Eye Patch Lady.
Eye Patch Girl, yeah. Eye Patch Lady. But yeah, I mean, reading it in the manga, it was definitely like sad that she passed, and you know, we got the revenge, the nutshot contest and stuff like that, which was hilarious. But the anime definitely like feel like it added more. It really strengthened the bond, I feel like, between Denji and especially Aki, between her, and especially with the use of flashbacks and stuff like that. So I kind of felt like it was, as they even established while they were kicking Katana Man's balls consistently, is it was a requiem for Eye Patch Girl. And,
yeah, great Hunter x Hunter reference.
And I almost feel like that's kind of what this episode turned into, was just like the final send off for her before they fully transition into pretty much not talking to bigger, better, crazier things happen. We will get into it in manga spoilers later, but I felt like it was a good end cap. But I do agree with you there, Ben. I think it definitely could have ended stronger narratively. Just because we know everything that happens. So kind of paying attention to something that has already happened and focusing on it, making us feel more sad about it, wasn't exactly what we were wanting, because, you know, we want it to properly set up everything else that's coming. And I love the Marvel callback there.
Well, because when it ended, I'm like, that's it. I thought it was done. And then
it ended like 3 times.
I know. And I was like, okay, done. I'm mad. Because like, he's like, you didn't see the ending. I'm like, oh, freaking Marvel. But yeah, no, like, because my whole thing is like, all I wanted was to get that nice book end type of deal with how it began, just because it was just like a big shock for me, like how the anime started with a scene that happened in like episode, like in chapter 30, 31 or something, with the whole dream with Pochita being behind the door and saying, don't open this, because that comes much later in the manga. And I thought it was really interesting that they started the anime that way. Mm-hmm. So I felt like that would have been a perfect way to end the series, or the at least end the first season. And the fact that happened just was like, that's absolutely perfect, because that's what I was waiting for, just because it was such like a big change.
If only they had stopped there.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, at least with like the other ending, like with, you know, just ending with Aki, you know, smoking the cigarette. I mean, that was really great. And I was fine with like almost name dropped. I was fine with the ending, just because I feel like there needs to be a little bit more, like suggesting that something is coming, because it does just end. But I am fine with that, because I know like other series have done that, like JJK, like its first season kind of just like they had the big battle, and then they just like have all these just like conversations in the last episode. And I always felt like we could have ended at such like a high point, but it's like we're gonna have this episode with random conversations afterwards.
Yeah, my issue with it is not like, first of all, I don't think it's that exciting of a tease for anime onlys. Like where
no, that was more.
There's more coming. It's just another conversation. You're like, huh? Yeah. That's kind of weird. I think it was a tease purely for the manga readers. Yeah. And I think that it actually can negatively impact the anime only enjoyment of the next arc, because they're like, oh, that's the person from the ending of season 1. They're going to be someone who's, you know, big, or, you know, or is already aware of Denji's existence, if you choose to interpret it that way. So that, to me, ruins one of the biggest twists of the next arc, which I won't get into. But
you see, I felt it. Like, we'll get into it more on the manga for sure, but I feel like it was so vague and cryptic that only manga onlys would know, like, oh, that's the thing.
Yeah, but then the anime only's guard is up when
yeah,
that thing gets introduced next season, which is
No,
not
but,
how
I mean,
you should be with that.
well,
that's a good
I
point.
think. Well, I mean, maybe from my perspective, because like the way I'm coming at it is like I care more about. I'm trying to word this right. Certain types of relationships, and I feel like that the person who spoke, the way that that person is introduced, was enough to be like, oh crap, this person is really important for whatever
No, but
reason.
it's not about the importance; it's about the suspicion aspect,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
like I think that it was a big mistake. Like I mean, I would have even been much more fine with them just showing and not
How
having
about
her say that.
Yeah, we should save this to the because we're trying to
yeah,
be all like
we're like
ambiguous.
dancing
about it.
around it right now. I think we should absolutely talk about the after tease once we can talk spoilers, because it is definitely a big thing. And I do see where you're coming, Ben, and I do agree with you on that aspect. But here's a theory too on the reason that they may have ended this episode the way they did, not with that tease, but with the whole like requiem for eye patch lady. Like, because, and I hate to say this and put this energy out there, and fans are not going to like this, but if Mappa doesn't get to do season 2, then that's almost like they're like they put a neat little bow on it, and season 1 can like stand on its own, unlike the Marvel movie sort of thing where it's just like this is all just like leading into that. I almost feel like they wanted it to be more solidified, more like an ending, that of kind of relating to everything that's happened in this season, um, a little bit more softly, rather than just getting you pumped and excited for season 2. Because at this point, they might not know. I mean, when they framed it and formatted it, they might not know, if they're going to be able to, if they're going to be the ones to do season 2.
Well,
Um,
so I don't think it's a matter of whether they're the ones to do season 2 or not, because Mappa like basically financed the whole project through themselves, which is very unique for an anime studio to do. But I do think that you could be right where it's like if it isn't actually profitable, then they might not do season 2, right? Because it's just not worth it. But I think it is going to be profitable. So this is a moot
yeah.
point.
Well, I mean,
But
One
but
Punch Man.
for the point of your reasoning, it's not a moot point. But I'm just trying to reassure fans. It probably is a moot point. We're probably going to get season 2 or a movie or something.
Hopefully.
But I actually think that ending with the movie theater scene would have been a better way to wrap up the arc and have it be more self-contained. Because also consider like when season 2 rolls around, if season 2 rolls around, I guess. You start out with a scene that I think is a very anticlimactic start. I think it's a very good wrapping up point for the first season, but I think starting a second season, it's not how you want to go.
Wait, I'm not following that. Wait, say that again.
We'll get more into that on the manga, because we're we're again going into like what happens next. But how we would want season 2 to start, we'll definitely talk about that. But probably should go back to the beginning of the episode. We left off with Aki being choked out by the which devil is it called?
Ghost Devil.
Ghost Devil. Thank you.
Ghost Devil that looks like a spider thing.
Right.
Well, no, we got the Spider Devil who looks like a mannequin thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All these things. Yeah. All these things.
There's lots of things. Our different devils look so interesting. Lots of limbs. They pretty much ended it with Aki, or started it with Aki landing on the ground, because last time we had him choking out and almost passing out, and then I almost feel like this is like kind of the confirmation that, or more adding to devils growing strong bonds between humans, through their contracts and stuff, because of course we have fiends who are like part human, part devils, and so it's not a stretch for them to kind of grow bonds. But eye patch lady's devil, like pretty much let him go, and had the whole like it reminded me of the fist bump either from Naruto or the movie Nope. But the giant fist comes out and has the cigarette for Aki, and then we get that beautiful flashback of his first cigarette being offered to him, and her saying like, you can have this cigarette once you're old enough. I'll keep hold of it for you. And a single tear goes down my eyes while I'm watching it. And that we get more Kenobi. Kenobi, am I saying your name? Kobeni.
Kobene. No,
Kobene.
we don't get Kishibe this episode, unfortunately.
Obi-Wan Kenobi did not show up in this episode. I apologize for anybody who got excited about that. Nice shirt, by the way, Steve.
Yeah, the Dadalorian. And there's one for the kid that says the child.
Oh man, perfect. But yeah, we wrap up the fight with the former. It was revealed that the blonde girl who had the snake devil was a former devil hunter, and she had made a pact with the gun devil, was giving weapons to the mafia. This is all explained by Makima at the one of the 5 endings that this episode had. But yeah, she didn't make it out. Kobeni had some more badass moments out of nowhere. She just magically appeared behind the snake girl and ended that conflict. But they didn't decide to kill her or Katana Man, the 2 people most responsible for Eye Patch Lady's death. Because they have a bigger mission and all that sort of stuff. They want to find out more about the gun devil and whatnot. So that all made sense. But while that's all happening, Denji versus Katana Man. Well, before that even starts, Power and Denji are in the elevator, which really reminded me of the scene in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Brad Pitt, and Angelina
nice
Jolie.
Parallel. Yeah,
it really reminded me of that because there's a scene where they're like fighting through a mall and then they get into an elevator and the music's just playing and they're just casually like getting ready and Powers.
Well, I think it probably is a reference to that because
probably
Fujimoto's a big cinema fan. So
absolutely. But yeah, we got more amazing dialogue from Power. I love how the door opens up and all the zombies are there and Denji's just like, all right, they haven't seemed to notice us. Be very, very quiet. I am Power. Prepare to be fought. Denji, I trust you to guard my back. Bear witness and tell the story as the elevator closes between them. It was so fun. But I just love seeing Power's moves in action. Her abilities are just really cool, blood manipulation and stuff like that. And just her self-righteousness is just so fun to watch. It makes her like one of my favorite anime characters, and can't wait to see more of her. But then we get Denji, encountering Chainsaw Man, and kind of Denji's whole like personal journey really comes to a head in this conversation. I felt like Katana Man is saying like, I'm killing zombies and I still like have trouble sleeping at night. Do you have any heart? Do you have anything left inside of you that makes you care that you're killing all these people? And that kind of goes back to several moments in this season of self-reflection with Denji. It's just like, oh man, that Eye Patch Lady just died and I'm not that tore up about it. Is what he was saying while Aki was in the hospital, and it's just him consistently fighting with why he is like lacking a lot of emotions and feelings. And without spoiling anything, it all kind of relates to the hallway closed door scene that was teased at the end there. And so it's all like coming to a head there really well, I thought. And the parallels between Katana Man and Chainsaw Man were fleshed out really, really well in this fight. But speaking of very, very well, some of the best action I think I've ever seen, like Denji and Chainsaw Man on top of the train and the camera's like spinning. And if you're paying attention to their movements, you always know what they're doing. Never at one point do they look like just 2 blobs fighting, or, the Dragon Ball thing where it's just like cutting back and forth to each one of them doing this. And I'm really glad because that fight, they needed to make it epic because it is the last fight of the season, and they did it justice, I thought. What would you guys think about it?
I'll just say because I don't have much to say about this, but like it was just meh. It's like really? It was my least favorite part in the manga. This whole bit, so I never was really invested in it. I mean, they definitely made it look cool, made it look cooler than it did in the manga. But I mean, I was just like, I still think like my number one fight from this season was him versus the Leech Devil. I thought that was the most visually pleasing for me. So that's where I'm coming at from this. But yeah, it was cool camera angles and stuff. But.
Yeah, I am sort of in a similar boat to Steven. I actually thought the manga did this fight better, and the main reason for that is because you can read through the fight in the manga a lot quicker.
Nice.
Because it's
I love
like,
your little clips.
Yeah,
I
mean, I try, you know. But I don't know. This was always sort of like, it's cool, you know, it's fine, but it's like, I mean, I've often said that the part that I really started getting into this series was actually the very next arc. Like basically right when this anime ends, like the chapter afterwards was when I started getting into this series. So like,
get hyped.
And I think the anime did a great job this season, as like it was incredible. Like, and I think anime only viewers probably are a lot more invested in the beginning parts than I am as a manga reader. But you know, this sort of, I don't really care about this Katana Man versus Chainsaw Man fight. And to be honest, I've seen better fights on a train in a manga. But
we'll throw them out
for Sakamoto days, I guess. Which I think,
yeah, there was that was early on too. I actually read that.
Yeah, and that was a good fight.
That he had the sign, the smiley face sign, right? Yeah.
No, I was actually thinking of a different fight as well, but there was also that was on a bus. So
that was a
completely different method of transportation. But Sakamoto's Days has incredible fights. Get hype when that anime gets announced eventually, because it's over 100 chapters in Jump. It's going to get an anime. But yeah, I mean, the big parts of this episode for me are basically everything around the, you know, Chainsaw Man versus Katana Man fight, as that part's the least interesting to me. You know, Chainsaw Man's going to win just because narratively that's what makes sense. And Katana Man isn't a very interesting villain, in my opinion. You know, as you said, he's interesting because he brings up these philosophical debates in Denji, but like overall, he's just kind of boring. And his sideburns are ugly. And I don't know.
Draw better, Mappa.
Yeah, well, no, it's not Mappa's fault or Fujimoto's fault. It's just it's his own fashion choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just say it wasn't. I mean, that's the part of the episode that I was hoping Mappa could sort of make me care about, and they didn't, through no fault of their own. They did as best they could, but it's just that fight is not interesting to me.
Yeah, fair enough. I feel like it definitely could have been better, you know, and that's more of just in the writing, because I feel like Fujimoto has so many other things that he's working on at this point in the story that, you know, we didn't really have time to flesh out that villain quite nearly as well as he does, especially in the next arc. But we won't get into that for a little bit. It's really just the whole, like, and then they do this so many times in like movies and in most stories, you know, you establish the bad guy that's a little out of their league, you give them the goal to train for, and then, you know, the finale sees them take them down. So for anime onlys, I could see that being a satisfying thing, but I remember reading it and being like, oh man, that was cool, especially when Denji, and I'm talking about like the manga all the way back when I first discovered how he beats him at cutting off both of his arms and, you know, doing the whole chainsaw through the leg and everything, was incredible. And I thought that Katana Man's quick draw attack was beautiful. Just the way that they had it framed, just I thought it was all really fun and great, and it did what it needed to do. Could it have been better?
It's like old,
yes.
What was it? Wow, I'm losing my words. Like the old samurai battles where like they have like that one charge and everything. Just
and you have to do that if you're having a katana fight. Like,
and
anime.
I will say that part of my lack of enjoyment might be because I think that's a very visually uninteresting way to do a fight. I've only ever seen that trope done well once.
Really?
I've never seen it. Every other time it's been sort of like, It just takes away from the actual fight itself, in my opinion.
I forgot the name of it. There was a really great anime where the whole thing was a flashback, but it starts. God, I wish I could remember the name. But it was basically this guy with only one arm was in the battle with a guy with only one leg or something, and that's how it starts as a battle. And that was probably one of the greatest, like for me, like these types of shots, because they had the whole thing where I forgot what they're called, but like they're the wooden bits when they fill up with water and then they go down and it makes like pairing that off with the surrounding environments really augmented.
It's one of those things, like if I had studied more on it, I'm sure they have like terminologies for like, oh, you have to do this shot or something like that. Like American filmmaking has all kinds of different versions of that, but that's one of those tropes that is done so often that it's just like, oh, they're doing the thing. For me, I actually streamed it on my YouTube channel, Honzy and Friends. There's a game called Ghost of Tsushima, where it's essentially like a open world samurai simulator, where they built this entire island and you play as a samurai, and it's one of the most beautiful games ever. But you're just wandering, and then there's 4 or 5 thieves running up on you, and there's so many moments where you just make it look as cool as you want. And so there's many opportunities to create that sort of thing. And it's just so ingrained in the culture now that I almost would have been disappointed if they didn't do something like that with Katana Man.
I wouldn't have been.
Right.
I feel like it's, so my issue, I guess, is that it's like anti-cinematic, in my opinion. In a series as cinematic as Chainsaw Man, that doing that sort of fight actually takes away from seeing the fight itself, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the trope in general. So maybe that's a me issue, but it just feels out of place. And I get why Fujimoto did it. You know, it's his homage to that sort of thing. It just wasn't that interesting to me. And
fair enough.
But I mean, even if the ending was kind of anticlimactic, in my opinion, the show as a whole was superb. Best show of the year, in my opinion. People could differ, but that's my top choice.
I thought it was kind of strange how the episode almost pretty much ends after that, after the contest between the nut shots. And then it's almost like the final third of it was all just little, as we said, Marvel teases to, you know, bigger, better things that are on the way. But I guess before we move into before we cap this part of the conversation off, would love to hear what you guys thought were like your highlights, because this was, you know, the end of season 1. We're not getting any more Chainsaw Man anime for a while. I guess the reason earlier I was a little nervous about it and saying why I think that they wanted to wrap this with a bow so it stands on its own is because One Punch Man. I feel like that anime did everything right. It was a huge hit. It became a worldwide phenomenon. It was one of the best looking things ever made. And then season 2 like took forever to come out. The same company didn't even do it, and it got a much lacking reception. But
I mean, the reason for that was because it was very much just a bunch of hot up and coming animators at the time joining together in Madhouse, which is the studio that did season 1, and making this as sort of like a passion project. But because they were all rising stars, they got very busy doing other projects afterwards. So they never really had the time to come together and make season 2. And the production company for One Punch Man got very impatient. So they were, after a certain period of time, they were like, okay, we can't wait for them any longer. We're going to just get this season made, as we want to capitalize on the hype as much as possible. And so they went to JC Staff, which is not a studio known for its stellar animation. I'm not saying it makes all terrible shows. I'm pretty sure Psyche K was actually done by JC Staff, and that's a great show. I just think that it's not the sort of show that One Punch Man should be for season 2. Season 3, though, may be animated by Mappa. That's what the rumblings are saying.
What I'm curious about, you mentioned that like the guys who were doing the animation for season 1, like they were rising stars. Like what did they take on after that? Like it seems like
I think they split. I don't think the same team went to go do something. I think they all
Yeah, it
split
was-
off.
well, yeah, but like they all did like their own thing. Like I'm wondering like what they went to do because
You
it's
can
like
look them up. You can find this sort of information on like, yeah, I'm pretty sure my anime list has sections for like the production staff as well that you can sort of go down that rabbit hole. Also, Sasagaburo, which is a website for like just stellar animation shots. You can go and look at a shot from One Punch Man, see which animators worked on it, click on them, and see
well, that's
some
pretty
other
dope.
links
Alright.
for them. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, you definitely can sort of pursue that.
Well, I just think it's interesting because it's like if I were an artist or like someone like I would want to stick with One Punch Man. It's like what like
Yeah,
it just
right.
feels kind of like
Well,
if they're
so-
especially if they're rising names, it's like I'd want to stick with One
I'm
Punch Man.
I'm sure after that came out, they got all kinds of good offers. So
well,
and
I'm
they're
pretty
making
sure
money.
they'd moved on to other things before it actually finished coming out, right? Because
Probably.
Okay.
you know, some anime are done week to week and sort of like, you know, it's pumped out like that. But a lot of anime like One Punch Man that are that high quality are made in advance and sort of most of the series is done by the time it starts releasing. So like they'd probably already taken other offers by that point.
Yeah.
So it's unclear though. This is all sort of things
Conjecture,
behind
yeah.
closed doors. So who really knows? But
Well,
They secretly hate One Punch Man.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
this was
right.
just a cynical
Like,
stepping stone for them.
I've drawn that bald guy too many times. Never again.
Yeah,
But yeah, would love to hear what your guys' favorite parts of season 1 of Chainsaw Man are. I said it before, and I will say it plenty more times in my life. Loved Power. I thought their handling of Power, the moments where her personality shines through, especially that moment where she convinces Denji to go fight the Bat Devil, and I just always have that moment in my head of them in front of the soda machines of. Yeah, he took your cat. That's not okay. Huh?
Oh, did you watch the Spanish dub
yes,
for that?
yeah,
Holy crap!
yeah. They completely changed it around a little bit.
Yeah, they made it like a
very
hentai.
different.
Like,
Really?
I was
like
getting
very
aroused by
sexual.
it.
Yeah. But I will say I think my highlight for season 1 was actually the various ending themes, as those were just I mean, I love a good opening or ending. Like I think that they can be the highlight of a show, and this series had 12 of them, or more like 10 of them with their own dedicated animation, and then the first and last sort of were just integrated into the episodes themselves. But I really liked those ending themes. Also, I will say that in the final episode, a highlight from that was when the ending theme music started playing as it zoomed in on Makima's face when her boss was like, "So where's the gun devil parts moving?" You see her smiling and zoomed in on her eyes, and that was really good because in the manga it was just sort of like one panel of her smiling, which is fine, but it's not really as cinematic as the zoom in.
Sinister cinematic for sure.
Or like it really gave the impression like, yes, my plan is coming together in some way. Unclear what that plan is, but we'll have to see.
Steven, how about you, man? What was your highlight for season 1?
I mean, I think you've talked about it at length, but I tend to agree with you about Himono. Like just that scene where she's just going about her daily routine, like after drinking and stuff, like taking off her clothes and whatnot, getting ready. Not for that reason,
right.
But also just like or any of the other cinematic moments like that with like Aki, just doing his laundry, doing his putting his hair up. It's just like one of those intimate moments that really gets you more invested in their character. I mean, there's so many things about them to like, but it's just adding that little bit just augments it completely, and it just feels like it flows with his overall style as a manga artist. So it feels like it's a real just the tip of the hat to his what he seems to prefer. Fujimoto, I mean. So
yeah, and I too really enjoyed those moments, which is why I was kind of surprised to hear that you guys weren't a big fan of the ending, because I felt like watching them like go have a day. They went to the park.
Yeah,
Aki's
that was
enjoying a
fine.
cigarette, and then they're having their food. Like, I felt like, they've come a long way.
I feel like I didn't see the whole episode now.
Well, no, that was fine. It's just, it was still anticlimactic, right?
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed watching that. It was like, oh, more wholesome moments of Power Denji Aki. That's fun. But, like, for instance, if an episode had ended on the Aki sort of slice of life thing, I'd still enjoy the slice of life sequence, but that would still be an anticlimactic ending to an episode because it's very much a downbeat, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I enjoyed that sequence. It's just, as the ending of the whole thing, it's like it's not
wacky.
it's not climactic. Yeah, it's anticlimactic. So
Okay.
What are you guys talking about? I'm going through the episode now.
when the
It was
when
one of the
ending
Marvel
is
endings.
playing,
Yeah.
it's like
right
right
that
after,
one.
Yeah, and you see
Oh,
them getting
yeah.
the groceries and then going back and eating dinner.
Oh, I thought
And
that
then
was great.
Aki-
Yeah, I like
yeah.
Yeah,
that.
no, that
And
was a fun sequence. It's just, it's very.
Let's switch over to the
anticlimactic way
manga
to end
side
the
so we can
season.
talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to hear. I want to hear Ben talk about it without having to dance around things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess that'll sum up our Chainsaw Man anime discussion. Would love to hear your thoughts on the anime. Also, what were your favorite parts, favorite episodes? I want to hear about it. So let us know in the comments. You can also follow us on Twitter and reach out to us. We're very receptive. But you can get us on Twitter at @MMangaMondays. Mondays. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and start talking about the manga chapters and full spoilers. So anime onlys, get out, go on, get. If you're worried about manga spoilers, but yeah, the spoilers open, go.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I liked that sequence at the end was because, of course, it gives us more time with Denji Power Aki and also makes the eventual tragedy a lot more tragic.
Yes.
But
there's a tragedy.
Yeah, I know, right?
A few.
Yeah, get back into the anime only section.
Yeah.
But
go on, get.
Yeah, no, I thought that ending sequence was fine, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's anticlimactic. Like, I really liked it. I'm happy that they include these slice of life moments in the show, but it's just about where it fits into the narrative, right? But the raise thing, now that I can talk with the character's name and stuff, like, part of the reason why that arc was so great for me was because it really did feel like a sort of serendipitous relationship starting up as a contrast to Denji's relationship with Makima. And, like, that made the hit so much harder when it was revealed that this was all manipulation as well, and Ray's was just after Denji's heart as well. So, like, I feel like teasing Ray's, especially in the way they did, where she says, like, where she asked Denji about the country mouse and the city mouse,
which is the worst freaking thing.
I know you have your problems with it. I like that metaphor, especially in the context of Ray's, and especially given how she dies. But I feel like bringing that up just will prime anime only watchers when they are eventually introduced to Ray's to be like, oh, that's the girl from the ending of season 1. She's like, this isn't a serendipitous meeting or something. This is like, either she already knows about Denji, or like it's less of a surprising relationship as it was in the manga.
So I think the surprise is still there.
Yeah, because so like what I feel like with her, I mean, the turn where she was the bomb devil was a massive thing. It's like, oh my god, what just happened? I feel like, though, when she's first introduced and she literal explosion, bomb explosion. The just what she was initially as like almost like encroaching on Makima's territory, like, because we were always like, there's a part of us that is always rooting for Denji to be with Makima, even though it's like we're like, we feel like she's a horrible person, so it's like we kind of want it to happen, but at the same time we don't, and so there's that loyalty issue. And then there's also the thing where Denji seriously is so into her, even though we're the reader, we're all like, or the watcher, viewer, whatever, we're like, maybe you should take a few steps back, Denji, put things in perspective. The fact that like he's so loyal to her, and just seeing him begin to turn and think on that, like he's just where he's getting tempted by other women. It's like, Oh man, like that for me was a big thing. So I feel like by bringing like teasing Rize is not such a big deal for me, just because I was so fully enveloped in what she was representing as like a possible like opponent to Makima. So I feel like people will feel like that she's an important character even before the whole bomb devil revelation comes
Yeah,
out.
I'm
Like I
not
feel
saying
like
I'm not saying that Revelation was the only part of her character, but I think that
right.
the relationship that Denji and Reyes form, right? It
Is it
is the
Raze or
rock.
Rize? Reze?
I think it's
Reze?
Reze because of the way
Reze? Is
Japanese
it E?
words.
Yeah, Reze,
But
yeah.
but the relationship that they form, like it definitely is sort of the rivalry to Makima. So like that's part of what makes it exciting. But
Yeah.
also what makes it exciting and what makes it seem like the ultimate rivalry to Makima is that Makima's relationship with Denji is done pretty much entirely through manipulation, right? Like she has manipulated him to the point where he is sort of like hanging on her every word and desiring like everything about her, right? With Ray's, it's the opposite, right? Like it feels like a natural thing, like a chance meeting, right? No, yeah, but see, that is like the and I think that thing will be more present for the animes because like it's less of a natural thing. It feels more constructed by the very structure of how the animes introduced her, right?
Like, I see where, like, yeah, it feels like, so at least for me, I put more weight on that aspect of that first relationship rather than the turn of what it ended up being. I feel like that's why, because like you seem to view it more evenly. I'm kind of more.
I mean, let me just put it this way. I don't think it will enhance the experience of any anime-only watcher. I think it only has the potential to be a detriment to the experience of an anime-only watcher. And that is my main complaint with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you remove all the context of everything we know, an anime-only watcher just seeing the cafe and hearing that voice, and you're just like, okay, I don't know who that is. I don't know what that is. Okay. But I feel like it doesn't ruin the tension of that relationship, because even if anime only watchers, if they hear that and then season 2 comes out soon, way sooner than we all expect, I still think that they'll be able to have all the tension and mystery around that character. I don't feel like that gave really anything away.
The point is, there shouldn't be tension and mystery around Reyes. There shouldn't be tension and mystery around Reyes until the guy corners her in the school and she kills him, right? That should be the first indication of like, whoa, there's something going on here, right?
I disagree. Like in the whole world of Chainsaw Man, I feel like every character we're introduced to is just like they could die at any moment. Like,
well, no, but it's not about Reze dying.
Let's talk about other things.
It's about her being sort of a surprising, like she's supposed to be the non-manipulator for Denji. She's supposed to be the natural relationship, but
which I think is enough. I don't know. I see where you're coming from. It makes a lot of sense.
Either way, like let's say this doesn't impact the experience for like 80% of anime only watchers. That's like fine, but the 20% who are negatively impacted by it, I think that's unfortunate, and I don't think that any anime only watcher will benefit from this tease, right?
I feel like, I don't know, like the way I'm coming from it is that it won't amplify or detract from the experience. It's just there. Like it was just interesting that they did it. It was like more of like a Easter egg for manga only or manga readers.
And
but
from that context, I liked it.
Well, I mean,
that's just me.
But even for anime onlys, it's like it feels like that it's just random, and it's I don't feel like it doesn't do anything. It's like, okay,
I think that it definitely could detract from some anime only watchers' experiences, right? Because for me personally, when I watch something and there's a tease at a later thing, whenever that later thing is first introduced, I'm like, oh boy, that's the thing. That's I need to think about like, why was this tease? Why blah blah blah. There are some anime only watchers who are probably just going to be like, oh, and not think about it further. But there are definitely a fair amount that do read into these things a lot. and will be affected like this. So I think that it definitely will be a detriment to a certain portion of anime only.
We're gonna do an experiment. We're gonna watch everyone when it comes in.
Yeah,
like,
you know,
how they're gonna take it.
See what percentage is like immediately off the bat, like, oh, there's something fishy here. She was the one introduced at the end of this first season.
Yeah, because I almost think like instead of doing a couple of those, Marvel endings, if we would just remove 2 of them and then end it with the movie theater scene.
No, that's what I want to talk about. Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. So first, okay, so my first thing with that is I feel like putting it in the end just makes it feel like it was just like a cap. It's just something that we need to put this in, and I feel like it deserves so much more because it's like, man, it's one of the few manga scenes that just really made me think. Like, I remember rereading it over and over and over again, and I feel like it deserves so much more than just the ending. And
well, I think it should have been half an episode. I think they should have
half an episode.
cut down. They should have greatly cut down on the fighting against Katana Man and his forces, in my opinion. And sort of that would have made the anticlimactic ending of the Katana Man fight better, in my opinion, as well, if they had sort of like shortened it and then had the actual meat of the episode.
Just not even have it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he gets halved, but like have the meat of the final episode be that sort of movie theater scene, because I feel like starting off the next season with the movie theater scene is going to be anticlimactic.
Oh, it shouldn't start with it. No.
Well, they have to. That's where they are.
Well, there is like other stuff that happens before it. Like that's why I was that's why I was thinking that even though it'd be interesting, there was no way it could happen because like it before that, because I was like doing it earlier for writing an article, but like how it was doing, like how the whole thing was structured was that every episode basically did 3 manga chapters. And where we were at that point is that with the last episode, there were 5 manga chapters. And it's like, there's no way. And that the 5th one was where the movie scene happened. So it's just like, there's no way that they're going to be able to put all of this in unless they cut a bunch of stuff out.
They probably should have shortened episode 11 or had it ended in a different. I didn't think episode 11 was going to end with Aki being choked out. I thought episode 11 was going to end with the easy revenge.
And then it would have been great.
Like,
I guess it makes sense from like a watcher, like an anime only. It's like, oh my god, he's getting choked. That's like a stereotypical way to end it.
But like, imagine if it had ended on the moment that the Ghost Devil opens up its hand and it says "Easy Revenge," and then that's the ending of the episode, and the anime only are like, what's happening? Yeah. But I feel like that's a better cliffhanger than just Aki getting choked, right?
That would have been awesome.
I do like that. I do. And then you get the flashback in the next episode explaining it.
Yeah, and then you get also more time to fit in that movie theater as like half the episode, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, so starting off season 2, I don't know.
We're not even getting to the manga yet. I love this.
I mean, starting off season 2, I don't know how they're going to do it in a way that doesn't start with the movie theater scene, right? Like, there is a little bit of stuff that happens before it, but like less than a chapter of stuff before the movie theater scene. So like, I don't like, you got to have the movie theater date in the first episode, right? And I don't like, I just feel like it will be very underwhelming where Chainsaw Man fans are getting back into it and they're excited for the thing. And it's very much a downbeat to start off. And I think that ending on that downbeat in season 1 would have been a lot more satisfying than sort of the Aki downbeat, which, was, as Jason said, they're wrapping up the Himeno stuff. So it was satisfying in its own way, but like, I think it would have been a lot more satisfying to focus on Denji's story in season 1.
Well, as they've done in like season 1, rearranging certain things just to help with the pacing. I could absolutely see them starting season 2 with like Denji riding on beam up a building and tornado craziness happening. We get like 15 seconds of that fight, and then it cuts to where we're at.
I feel like that would be terrible. I feel like that would be a terrible way to introduce the next season, because then you're undercutting the movie date even more. Because you're like, what's all this? We'd get to that fight. Like
keep going.
Oh, okay. That also ruins like part of the gleeful surprise of that Sharknado moment, right? Like, if it's teased that
it's
it's
so
going to
good.
happen throughout the whole, then that takes away from that, right?
I guess I was just trying to think of like they have to have it start with like a crazy action, what's
Well, there
happening?
is.
Chainsaw Man's back, but without it like spoiling, too many things. Like showing Bomb Devil would be too much, I think. But I was just trying to think of like the craziest thing that's happening next.
Well, to be fair, season 1 didn't open with a crazy action set piece, so I don't think season 2 needs to either. I just think like it will. I just think it's placement in the series, and to be fair, it's an awkward chapter placement for the show to deal with, anyways. So like they're doing the best they can. I just think that it will be much more underwhelming for anime onlys.
So
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So here's the thing. So first, just because like I remember when I was first reading this, like I was doing notes on like what happens on each chapter. So basically, what happens next, which hasn't happened yet, is that in chapter 38, the big thing is that Makima suggests that Puccina might be the gun devil. So there's going to be like a big council scene where she brings that up to them.
I don't remember that.
Which is kind of like a pretty good place to kind of start it, just because it's bringing in the gun devil, and then it also
I think that's
brings
a good place to start.
But besides all that, something that I guess it's just because it could be either or. So something that I really appreciate with how this is going is, so we in season 1 already we've had these 2 instances where Denji's having to deal with his humanity or lack thereof. And what's interesting is that in both of those instances, there's like a moment where he is, reflecting, like it seems like he's really like thinking about it, but each time it ends with him going, yeah, I don't really care, type of deal. So it feels like that it's not a big deal. And I feel like, and then there's that part in the, the viewer, it's like maybe it is more than that. And I feel like that ending, like including the movie theater scene, I guess I don't want it to be wrapped up that quickly, because I feel like that is such an important part in his journey that
I agree
that it needs to be elongated. And I feel like that having that, and it also.
Oh, you mean not an episode
together? Yeah.
I thought you meant it having an episode in the first episode of season 2 would be unfortunate, but
no, that would be better that way. Just because I feel like if we,
well, I don't think it. I don't think it would necessarily be shortened if they had done it in the way that I proposed.
Oh no! I'm articulating it wrong. So, like by shortening it, I mean, just the overall journey of the viewer. As I feel like that. Why is someone pulling in my driveway? Anyway, there's an important. So the whole thing is the whole journey of the reader and the viewer with Denji, of whether he feels human or not. And I feel like it really, the movie theater scene, by having that happen in that same season, almost like puts a cap on that. And I feel like that by including it in the second season, it elongates that journey in the viewer.
No, but I think the end of a season should like put a temporary cap on the major arcs of the season.
Yeah,
right? And that's why I think it was good and would have been good in season 1.
I don't know, because I feel like that makes sense. I just feel like, who was that guy? So like the season 1 kind of focuses on the fact that he doesn't care about his humanity, or he's not even worried about it. But then season 2 brings in the whole deal that he actually does care. Like I feel like elongating that, at least for me, like, because I don't know, maybe because I was reading it slower, but I felt like
I see what you're saying. Longer. I almost think that
it feels almost cliche to me.
It would have been like the perfect cap, and I wonder if that was originally the plan, was to end season 1 with that. But just with them having to do so much and cover so much with just 12 episodes, maybe if they were able to do 13 episodes, they could have properly done it. But they were probably too afraid of like cheapening that moment, or been like, oh man, the only way we can fit it is if we can do it in 3 minutes, and we don't want to rush that moment. So
well, I will say, what Steven's been saying, I think it could actually work at the start of season 2, given that it opens up it basically starts off season 2 introducing the main thematic question of the Bomb Devil arc as well, because like, can Denji have a natural relationship like outside of Makima and stuff? Can he care for, and that's sort of, it fits in with season 2 as well, so I think it could be good as sort of introducing that thematic sort of thread. But I don't know, I just like, I mean, I
it's
just
just
feel
a
like
great
season 1
story that we
finale was
care
so
about it
good.
this much.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what's so
exactly. And it's
Like,
like, I
that's
feel
the
like
thing, like,
season
we
1's
just are so-
finale was so
like, we're just-
anticlimactic because it didn't include this cap and just included sort of, I mean, I really love the slice of life moments, but ending on that slice of life moment didn't feel like a conclusion, right? It just felt like sort of, I mean, it felt a conclusion to Himeno's story, but like, not anyone else's. So
yeah,
that was my
it's
main
just
complaint.
no, it's just interesting though. I mean, it's like I guess I've had these discussions about other shows, but I feel like that this is one of the few where it's like I actually am very invested in how things begin, how things end, just because it's a story we all care about. And we're talking about like moments where they're gonna take it, and it's like it's so important. So it just shows how good the story is.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. Well, speaking of the story, we have the newest developments of the story. But
I actually had a proposal here, since this podcast is already almost an hour long, and one of our podcasters who really wanted to be on for the manga portion of it argue with Steven was unable to be here right now. What if we make this actually 2 episodes, one focusing on the anime and one focusing on the new chapter, because there's a lot to cover in that latest chapter.
And it's like, what's funny is one of them is so short too.
Yeah, and then the next one is so long. So would that be okay with you guys? I mean,
yeah, I think that'd be fair enough, and we can maybe even schedule it for where we're not on break on the manga next week, so we could we could have the new chapter to discuss as well. Especially 116 definitely ends on like a, all right, something big's about to happen.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's a great idea. We'll stick to this hour-long discussion on.
I can't believe it lasted this long. That's so
I know.
Cool.
Well, honestly, when I scheduled it, I was just like, all right, well, I see some of you guys are available until the end of this hour, so I was expecting this to go long because we needed to talk about the whole anime and the finale and how it relates to season 2 when that happens. So,
sorry. I want to bring up something really
Please.
Quick. I wish I remembered his name, but one of the guys on the Screen Rant channel, you might know what I'm talking about, Ben. He was. This is about the anime. Related that the Easy Revenge cigarette to a scene in Fooly Cooly. Where there,
was that Sebastian, or was that?
I think it might have been Sebastian, but it's like, there's a cigarette with a phrase on it that means a lot, and he says like he was wondering if Fujimoto was using that as inspiration for this scene, and I'd actually forgotten because I saw Fooly Cooly a long time ago.
Oh yeah, same.
But yeah, like it's like, oh yeah, there is that particular scene, and they're both very emotionally impactful. That I'm wondering if that it was actually inspired by it.
It definitely could be. I mean, Fujimoto is drawing from a lot of different places, and Fooly Cooly was too. It's very similar, sort of, in terms of how personal project it is. However, Chainsaw Man makes more coherent sense than Fooly Cooly does.
And I almost got to see the Pillows live once.
That would have been dope. The Pillows are great.
I know. Oh my
Pillows
God,
ending in season 2 of Chainsaw Man when we get
yeah, the Pillows. Woo!
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts on the Chainsaw Man anime before we go into plugs and recommendations, gentlemen?
I guess I'll just say thank you, Mappa, and everyone who worked on the project for the great show. Don't listen to the people signing the petition who want to remake season 1 in a goofier style.
Is it because of the CGI?
It's because of the CGI, but also because they think that the show should be animated less in the style that it was and more like in a typical anime style.
I'm gone. I'm just leaving.
No. Yeah, I mean,
people need to get better hobbies.
Yeah, they're very much in the minority, I think, but like it's still
not
very
even a
frustrating to see. It's like, why we're handed. This is why we don't have good things. We
This
don't
is why,
deserve-
this is why we
Yeah.
don't have good things.
Yeah.
It's well, because it's weird. Because I was gonna say, like, I feel like, I mean, maybe because I was just so hyped about the manga, but I remember watching episode 1 and just the atmosphere and how it was done just really captured encapsulated like the whole feeling of the series. Like it had the funny bits, but it had the really darker moments, and it was a perfect atmosphere. And I just don't remake it. That's crazy. Like I don't remember.
I agree.
I remember I was live because like I
Yeah.
was watching it live like on the Discord channel, like because there was already a thread on it, and I was just like, oh my god! I was just like, I couldn't stop reacting to it, just how amazing it was, like how happy I was, because I was like, it's one of those series like I really cared about, and I was like, they're gonna mess it up. It can't be that. It's not gonna be good. And I just remember watching the first episode, and I was just like, holy frick, this is amazing. So no, and also going with Ben, what you were saying earlier, just like knowing all like the animation studio stuff. Like I've been hearing that, I guess it's not really news, but that MAPPA is just notoriously known for really pushing its staff to the brink. So it's like, is that still the case now? Because I know like it's just like they pick the best projects, but they have few people, and they're just like, do it now.
Yeah, it's working conditions at MAPPA are infamous for being very bad. So it's sort of a downside to the series, as like, there are ethical considerations if you want to make those ethical considerations to watching it. And I know some people have actually recommended reading the manga over watching the anime precisely because of those ethical considerations. Because it's like, is it okay to actually consume this media when it's just empowering the studio to keep pushing its workers more? Because if it shows successful, then clearly their model is the correct one to go with, right?
You'd almost hope that because of the success that they would have the money to hire more people and make it less stressful. But that's apparently not how things work.
Well, I think they've got a fair amount of people now. They have been growing in recent years, but it's more just that they keep the terrible working conditions going. So it's very not good. And of course, MAPPA will deny a lot of the allegations against them. But this is coming from people like working inside the studio and things. So it's very likely to be true.
It's kind of like the same thing with Rurouni Kenshin, like that. We were having that whole discussion.
Well, that's a little bit different because that's
and not wanting to support it. It's like it's like we should just not watch it.
Yeah, I mean there is also, I would say, a difference in magnitude.
Oh, there's a big difference, but it's like the same things where it's like, should we not watch it?
Yeah, exactly.
For a particular reason.
And I mean, I think we've just gotten used to like the anime industry and even the animation industry abroad as well, just having such terrible working conditions that like it's less of a thing. It's less of a discussion point.
Which is
because
a shame.
we've accepted it so much more.
I feel like times have changed a little bit with that, though, just with more transparency and, of course, the advent of social media. You get people who are able to say, like, "Oh, this working condition sucks," and I feel like whenever it's the same thing in the game industry too. There's a lot of like game directors who are like
Blizzard was a big one. I think.
That's a whole same thing with Rurouni Kenshin. Blizzard has a
very different
thing to look up controversy if you'd like, but it's one of those things where I think crunch is getting a lot less tolerable, and I hope that it just, as Ben said, everyone who worked on this at MAPPA did a fantastic job, and they deserve good things. Maybe not the guy who's causing people to overwork. You need to get your priorities straight, man. Treat your workers better, and they do great work, so they should live happy lives for making so many people happy. But,
I mean, part of the issue is that it's definitely not just one guy who's making them overwork. It's a system in place, right? It's very rarely one person at the core of this problem, and that's part of what makes it so hard to alleviate.
And I don't want to bash the country at all, but it is a cultural thing too.
Yeah, there is also elements of working culture, and also the fact that Animation is such a sort of sought after job. Like it's a dream career for a lot of people. And so it's like, if that's your dream career, you're willing to make certain sacrifices and willing to sort of push yourself through this working schedule to keep doing what you love doing, which is very much a shame, but it's how they can just keep getting taken advantage of. And it's very unfortunate.
Well, much like I was just about to say, much like the first season of Chainsaw Man, we're ending on a downbeat. But yeah, I'll repeat it. Everyone who put the work into for it did an awesome job. You deserve happiness and success and a break. You deserve a break because they did excellent work. And I'm really hoping that season 2, we don't have to wait too long for season 2, and I hope it looks at least almost as good as this one does. It definitely the quality gap between One Punch Man and season 1 and 2 is the one that sticks out in my brain the most personally. Hoping we don't get a repeat of that, especially with the arcs that we have coming up next.
The greatest moments almost of Chainsaw Man, like just peak.
Peak. Because I'm sure we'll get the Rize arc, and then what's right after that?
International Assassin.
Yeah, the international. Oh man, so then we get
Halloween. That's a big one.
Yeah. Well, I've heard people saying that they think that the Bomb Devil arc is going to be one movie.
Interesting.
So that could be interesting. I feel like that might compress things a little bit too much, but it would be sort of meta to be watching the movie date in a movie theater.
I
love that. That's nice.
Oh man, and it would give them the proper time and space to really flesh out the international arc, because
that would be meta.
I love the Bomb Devil arc, but how the international assassin arc, the whole last half of it, just oh man. It would be a crime to like cut that arc in half and like have to wait till season 3 of the anime to see them go to hell and stuff.
Oh,
Jesus. So a movie would be awesome. Oh,
it's one of the few. It's one of the few. I believe it. I still believe it to this day. Like that scene is probably it actually
the hell scene, or
it actually trumped the Eclipse and Berserk for me, and that is a big deal. That is a big deal coming from me, because
it's definitely up. Like it does pretty much the same thing for both series. I feel, where it's just like a dramatic turn for so many characters, and it just shifts like so many things. And
but it's like the thing that I love
is power.
But it also it's like so much more. I don't want to start throwing terms and stuff, but like just so existential. Like it's just like more than Berserk, because it's like there was a reason for that happening in Berserk. Like what the hell was the purpose? It's just. Oh man, it just gives me goosebumps.
I got chills. They're multiplying. Well, guys, really excited for more Chainsaw Man. And the manga's also killing it right now too. Excited to talk more Chainsaw Man next week. But I think we'll go ahead and move into plugs and recommendations.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Mega Manga Monday's discussion on the Chainsaw Man anime, the season 1 finale, and what we hope season 2 is going to be like, and so forward. Really hope that that movie idea is just that'd be great. But please follow Mega Manga Mondays on Twitter at @mmanga Mondays, and feel free to reach out. We're also on YouTube for our visual podcasts. You can see my hands moving when I do that if you're watching it on YouTube.
It is a sight to behold.
Thank you. I've a lot of practice and stuff. So but we also have a website where you can watch all of our other or listen to all of our other podcasts too. We do podcasts for series like One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, Boruto sometimes, and Dragon Ball Super. So feel free to check those out as well. We would really appreciate it. We have a lot of fun on those discussions as well. And that website is megamangamondays.podbean.com. But I, Jason Hahn, also write a lot of video game stuff related to on Screen Rant. I'm doing game reviews and features. I have a huge one coming out very soon about the whole story of the Armored Core series before the new one comes out from the creators of Elden Ring and Dark Souls. So that's very exciting, and that took me a very long time to write. So I hope you enjoy that. But I also have another YouTube series called Honzy and Friends. I like to play games with friends, and just we have a good time making each other laugh. And if you like hanging out with your friends and playing video games, it might be something you enjoy. But we've got some Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4 episodes coming out. Very exciting. But please check that out and subscribe to Honzy and Friends on YouTube. Steven, how about you, man?
I'm just gonna first. When are you gonna be doing that Sonic one at some point? Because I would love to do some Sonic. I need to talk about Sonic.
Yeah, that's something me and Steven have been talking about, playing the newest Sonic game, Sonic Frontiers, and he is the most knowledgeable Sonic lore man I know. So it'll be really, really interesting to play Sonic Frontiers with Steven and getting to hear some of Sonic's lore. But we'll be scheduling that hopefully soon.
Well, as a segue to that, I mean, I'll just say like the for recommendations and whatnot. Sonic is really killing it right now for IDW, which is great for us. Well, and it kind of puts a dampener on us Archie fans. For those are like Archie's always better, but IDW's been killing it. Like both the main series and also one of its offshoot miniseries, Scrapnik Island. Oh man, they're doing a good job with that. Even though Sega's kind of, I think one of the problems is that Sega's really more in control of what IDW can do, because when Archie was doing the comics, they really pretty much had free reign. Because like, I'm talking too much, but anyway, yeah, Sonic's doing
it's
well.
It's a podcast. You're supposed to.
And and I'll just say like on the manga side, I'm just really happy with recent developments in Dan to Dan. It's a series that I was really excited about for a while, but for the last couple of months, it's just really been going downhill for me. But the last 2 chapters have really brought it back, and I'm more excited to read it every week now. So I'm just
good.
Happy.
So what I'm hearing is that you're just a Vamola hater.
But no.
Because you don't like it when she's in the series, and then when she is kicked out, then you're like, oh boy, the series is back.
No,
it's great
I will say no. Vamola, I love the hell out of her. It's just I feel like I feel like when Vamola was introduced, it was a phenomenal moment, but then it kind of felt like it was just pushed to the side. So there's just all these battles going on, and I
feel like the Vamola thing. Well, that would be for the Don to Don.
The
podcast, I guess. But
yeah, but I mean, like,
I feel like Vamola shifted the conflict into like it made like I feel like Momo had to struggle with her presence a lot more, and just sort of like I don't know. I think she introduced a lot of very interesting conflicts into the plot.
Oh, she was phenomenal. I love the hell out of her. Like I feel like when she was introduced, that was the highlight, but then it felt like that they kind of pushed her aside.
I don't know. I think she was the main focus after that point.
Was she?
I feel like she was, which is why I thought you were a Vamola hater, because the arcs immediately.
Oh, I see. Maybe I could just
big focus on Vamola. So.
Yeah, I could be misremembering, but I think one of the reasons why I really like this chapter too is because even though Vamola is gone, it's the fact why she's gone is such a huge thing, because there's the whole thing of, everyone doesn't believe Momo, and there's the fact that there's that miscommunication of the languages, so they don't really know what Vamola is saying, if she actually is a traitor. And it's the fact that she's gone now. It's like, oh God, we gotta get her back, but she's gone, so we can't, make everything better. So I feel like her being gone makes it even. I like Vamola. I do not want to convey that I am a Vamola hater. I love
actions speak louder than words.
Let us know if you'd like to hear more chat about Dan to Dan, but you guys, we could probably talk more about it off mic.
we might indeed do that. I've got some plugs and recommendations as well that I'll give real quick. So there is a new Fate series coming this upcoming summer called Fate Strange Fake. And they actually released a 6-minute long sort of preview of it, and it was very good. So if you're interested in the Fate franchise, even if you're not a big, even if you've sort of fallen out of love with it, I know myself, I have not really been a big fan of a lot of the Fate anime that's been coming out lately. Fate Zero was like, the top, and then everything else has been sort of underwhelming to me. But it seems like this show is going to have major Fate Zero vibes, and it also is teasing some very exciting characters and fights. So it should be pretty cool. And the animation looks great. The soundtrack seems like it's done by Sawano, so like get excited for that. And I think that this could sort of I'm just really excited to watch it and then write about it when it comes out. But
I still need to watch it because you recommended it to me. I don't think on here,
Fate
but
Zero,
on the site.
Fate Zero is super good. I recommend it to
one
everyone.
of those series. Yeah, I've always seen like clips of it and heard a lot of people talk about it, but I haven't checked it out yet. So I might have to do that now.
Yeah, people will say you shouldn't start with Fate Zero. You start with Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. I personally started with Fate Zero, and it got me invested in the franchise. And I guess it did make Unlimited Blade Works kind of underwhelming to me. But I don't know. I think Fate Zero is all you need. And then in terms of just plugs, I have a YouTube channel of my own called YuGiOh from Zero, where I go over historical formats of the YuGiOh trading card game. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been seeing you get a lot of good traction on that, man. I'm really happy for you. That's awesome.
We're up above 350 now, so that's very exciting. So
organic growth.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of Mega Manga Mondays. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks for listening, and thank you guys for sharing your thoughts. I'm going to have links and all of the stuff to our recommendations and our other plugs in the description. So please check that out. We put a lot of hard work and passion into a lot of that stuff. And obviously, we love sharing stuff that makes us excited. And we hope that you check it out and get excited as well. But please let us know in the comments what your favorite parts are, what you're excited to see animated with Chainsaw Man Season 2. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Yeah, see you then.
Sounds good.
Peace.